Welcome back. I'm speaking with Dr. Peter Fairfield, acupuncturist who's just opened up a brand new clinic in Mill Valley, California, and we're talking about getting happy without taking antidepressants. So I would love to know, well, let's talk a little bit about the flawed studies, the research studies on antidepressants in the first place, and that I think most people don't realize that they can be dangerous. They can actually cause suicidality.
Oh, well, it's terrible. And, there are several books. If anybody's interested, there's a couple books they can read. The one is called The Truth About the Drug Companies, written by Mary Angel. She's the former editor of the New England Journal of Medicine, definitely somebody that you could trust. She just rips them a new one. I mean, it's just terrible what she talks about. Fraudulent research, covering up all the bad just to expose the good, the paying off of college professors. I mean, it's a whole book all about that. There's another interesting book. It's called America Fool. I'm sorry, I don't remember the author. And it's only about the fraudulent behavior in the psychotropic medicines. The thing about this is, even if the medicines worked, even if they didn't have terrible side effects, even if they weren't expensive, it robs the kids of their ability to trust who they are. They don't think they can get through life without their meds. That is the crime of crimes. It takes
Very interesting.
the soul away.
Uh-huh.
And you don't need it. Maybe 1%, 2% of the kids need something. Maybe 3% need it for a really short time, really amazingly low dose. And 0.5% maybe need something microdose for a long time just to sort of help them get through because their parents are so blank crazy and their teachers don't understand them. I mean, a lot of times you get these kids that are exciting and creative and powerful and precociously sensual, and they don't fit in the box. And the teachers want to medicate them because they're probably smarter and more interesting than the teachers. And the parents are too busy, and the kids are probably beyond them in a certain way. So they drug them. It's a crime. The son of a friend of mine was so frustrated. This is a very sensitive, brilliant kid. He went to the principal and said, I'm just so angry I could hurt someone. That's the best thing you could imagine doing. He was honest. He went to someone for help. They took him out of school. They put him on meds, and they put him in the place for troubled kids on the other side of the fence from his school. Not only did he got put down and medicated for doing a good thing, he was put on display for all of his friends.
Oh, it's terrible.
I mean, and that's just in Marin County. This is supposed to be an enlightened place. It's terrible.
Yeah.
So we have limited time. By the way, I also do neurofeedback, which is amazing. I'll talk about that. So it is possible for most kids to do really well, really simply, even in a fairly short period of time. Acupuncture shifts them. The homeopathic medicines that are mild but effective shift them. Getting them off, I'm sure you've talked about in this show, dyes and food additives and all that stuff.
Right, they change behavior.
Excess carbohydrates, the whole thing. I mean, there's lots of literature on that. That makes a huge difference right there. Understanding them, making who they are okay. They're not wrong for being loud or curious, or they don't fit, or they don't settle down easily. That's who they are. So if they can't settle down, maybe they have a neurologic problem. Maybe they have a minor head injury. Probably 40-50% of the people I see walking in my office have at least a minor head injury. Did you ever have a head injury? No. Did you ever fall and hurt your head? Oh, yeah, a lot of times.
Right. Talk about the neurofeedback that you're doing at the clinic.
Well, this is actually fairly new for me, and after 40 years of working with this kind of thing, it's exciting. It's a system called the Lens System by Oaks Labs up in Sebastopol. And what it does, a lot of neurofeedback goes in, and we train to go in alpha or beta or switch. This is sort of like homeopathy for the brain. The first couple of visits, you do some maps and some testing, and then you find the places where the brain doesn't wiggle or resonate. And then basically you send little tiny resonant messages into the brain, and it just goes, ah.
Okay, when you say resonant messages, what do you mean?
Well, little micro stimulations into the brain. I'm kind of probably like the nutty professor. I have piles, and I have 30 projects, and I have books here, and I'm always thinking, after 3 sessions of doing this myself, all of a sudden my piles are in order. I'm finishing things. My ADD is under control. And that's a creative style, and so it makes this huge difference in learning difficulty, attention, being able to handle things. Some people, you say more than a little bit of stimulation and they go in circles, they can't hear you. That's a neurological problem. And it's really easy to undo for most people in a really short period of time.
Interesting. Wow. I want to try it.
Yeah.
I have a question for you because I'm very curious about healing in general. So there's homeopathy, herbs, qigong, yoga, Reiki. They all work. None of them are placebo, but yet somehow healing exists. So why? Why is that?
In 3 minutes. Well, you can walk into a music store and you can play, Mary Had a Little Lamb on any instrument in the place. And some of the instruments, it's going to sound better or more appropriate. And where are you going to play that song and who's going to be listening? So the thing about all the things you talked about, except for homeopathy, is they are small therapies. They're a tool that utilizes and creates shifts in the physiology. So how you utilize those shifts. I mean, I can have a paintbrush and 3 tubes of paint, 3 colors of paint. And if I don't know much, I can get a painting with 3 colors and, some sticks and some, a sun and maybe something else. If I know how to mix color, then I can take those simple things and I can make something exquisite. So it's not homeopathy. It's not, and everything has a placebo. You want a placebo because a placebo is, and as a matter of fact, in the research they've done, if you tell people they're taking a placebo, it still works better. If you're testing 2 medicines and you say, here, we're doing this test, this is a placebo, it even works if you tell them it's a placebo. So the placebo medicine is just, it actually is when we take something and we're open, it creates a momentum of receptivity in the physiology of the system. We have 100 trillion cells in our body. Just in our physical body, there's 100 trillion neurons in the head, and there's 6 times that many glia. Glia are actually what's responsible for intelligence. Einstein had the same amount of neurons, but he had 8 to 1 neurons rather than humans normally have 5 or 6 to 1. Although dolphins and whales have 8. So I guess we should have called Einstein Flipper or something. But what I'm trying to say is that these are tools, and if you feel a resonant with homeopathic medicine, I feel a resonant with acupuncture because I can go in and play the body. I can look where the body's stuck. I can see where it is. I can work in real time with that body to begin to open. And then we begin to retrain the body to hold these patterns. It's not just like this point does this. You can do it that way, but really we want to retrain the body into holding this set of balance.
And I know that the heart plays a big role in your work. So tell us about that.
Well, the heart, in 1980, I had my pulse taken, really by somebody who knew what they were doing. Actually, Michael Brofman in San Anselmo. And he just described my whole life to me. And it was the first time I could accept myself because I really understood what I had gone through. And for me and so many others, really my own healing really had to do with the heart. Healing my heart, discovering what that was, and then helping others. I did long retreats in the Himalayas alone up in cabins south of Mount Everest. I did the whole thing. I wanted to find out what did what to who and how. And really the whole real Buddhist training, the esoteric Buddhist training, is about the heart. If you find a spiritual discipline that doesn't emphasize the heart as some sort of early foundation, run. Because you can have your mind clear and you can have great concepts, but if you look embryologically, the brain itself, the heart actually comes down from the top of the skull embryologically, begins up right by the crown chakra, and there's an energetic channel that connects the heart up to the top of the higher energetic centers. So you cannot even get to some of these higher states and be grounded in the body without going through the heart. That's the physiology of it. That's why it's so important. So, you're not depressed if your heart is open. You might be angry or hurt, but you're not depressed. If your heart is open, at least you have a sense of who you are. At least you have a ground. At least you have a way to have moments of connection and coherence. And so you have to start there.
I see. Now you're working on a book called Deep Happy.
Yes, I'm hours away from the final edits. My editor is sweating because we were supposed to have it done a while ago. It's going to be published in January, Deep Happy. And it's really all the deep teachings and all that I've discovered in 40 years put in a really simple way. I never talk about Deep Happy actually being enlightenment, although I guess I just did.
And it has to do with resonating from your heart?
It has to do with resonating. It has to do with finding that place inside us that is always happy. That's not a ha-ha happiness, but a deep and profound acceptance of the wonders of being. And so it's a book on how to get there and stay there. And
you give workshops on that as well,
I
right?
give workshops on that. And also I give professional workshops all over the country to physicians. And the clinic's actually called the Center for Conscious Healing. And I think you can call information for Peter Fairfield. I'm not sure we're just opening up this new clinic. I've been semi-retired for years, mostly teaching. But my wife's also an acupuncturist, and so we're opening up this clinic. We have a great psychiatrist working for us. She does French homeopathy. Jane Ellen Heath. My wife is Condi Freeman Fairfield, and we have a great chiropractor, Ross Graham. And we're going to be right there in Mill Valley and Camino Alto. So, we call us up, talk to us. If you have a problem, we're happy to let you know if we can help you.
And you have a website too, don't you?
You can go to peterfairfield.com, and that's pretty hard to memorize. And you can also call information. We're pretty available. And yeah.
I have a question. We just have about a minute left, but I remember in one of your talks, you were talking about the intelligence of disease.
Yes.
Can you kind of condense that?
Yes, all disease has an intelligence to it. I mean, we should actually do a whole show on this sometime. But if we're sick or if we have gallstones or whatever else, it's just the body trying to create something positive. As soon as we begin to understand it as something that's bad, we miss the intelligence. The gallbladder has to do with knowing what balance is. If we have stones in our gallbladder, it's because we've learned to see the world imbalanced. When we start passing stones, it means we're actually moving to a higher octave of perception. So once you begin to understand that in all diseases like that, it's...
So we shouldn't view disease as a negative thing in our lives?
No, it's not a negative thing. It's a transformation that the deep wisdom and intelligence of the body is trying to accomplish. And if we're really working well in natural medicine, we want to support that change and make it more comfortable and easy and understandable to the body and person undergoing that.
So the disease is a message from our higher intelligence that we need to pay attention to a certain organ or gland?
Yeah, and sometimes it's a foot in the derriere. It's not just a message. It's, hey, it's about time.
Uh-huh.
So the stronger the message that the body is giving us, the more intense or the more difficult the system, the longer we have pushed those messages away.
Fantastic. Well, Peter, we're out of time, but this has been fascinating, as always, talking to you. And again, if people want to get hold of you, peterfairfield.com, and then the name of your clinic is
a Center for Conscious Healing, and you can also call information for Peter Fairfield in Mill Valley. Okay,
thank you so much.
Thank you. It was fun.
Great. Well, thank you so much for listening today. For podcasts and more information on my show, visit yoursupernaturallife.com. You can also download the show on iTunes. You can find my book, Supernatural Home, on Amazon or my website, supernaturalmom.com. And if you type in supernaturalmom.com/free gift, you can download a free 20-question quiz from my book to help you determine where, when, and how you are unwittingly being exposed to dangerous chemicals from everyday products in your home. Plus, you'll get tips on ways to have a super healthy home. Also, take advantage of my expertise where I come to your home and help you turn it into a safe haven. I offer a one-of-a-kind service to protect you and your family from invisible toxins in your home that can cause fatigue, allergies, asthma, and other health problems. Email me at beth@supernaturalmom for more information. We'll see you here next week. We'll have another great show. Have a supernatural life. I'm Beth Greer.